Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Indeed, we're your daily dose of sunshine. Good morning and welcome to the program. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, Lord, yesterday after the handover ceremony between the former Inspector General of Police and the acting Inspector General of Police, they then proceeded to the State House, where the President decorated the acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji. And then, yeah, so that was the first scenario, that ceremony. You could see that, well, being a police officer of that rank, he must have been ready for that. But then on to the State House, the President decorating him, and some of the narratives coming through from him, that's the acting IGP, he says, time up for lawless, dirty officers, as the IGP. And then he also did say he's going to ensure they deal with corruption and all of those kind of attitudes you see with the police force. And guess what? How about that part where he says, Nigerians are my bosses? At this, well, I mean, many will say, for those who have known him for a bit, he seems to do a few things somewhat differently, but this sound like sound bites, I tell you, because if you need to come up with a lot of change with the Nigerian police force, goodness me, you need more than rhetoric. So you have to there has to be an institutional mindset change. So once he says, look, it's time up, any police officer who is on the road and you're misbehaving, gone will be those days. And it's good music to the ears, I tell you, but that doesn't mean while you're driving on the road or you'll be strutting your stuff on the streets. Look, those policemen will still take those prisoners when they're out there. But it's good to hear this kind of narratives coming from the acting IGP. So how that trickles down remains to be seen.
Chamberlain, in all honesty, I wish the new IGP well. I wish him every success.
So technically, may his road be rough. May
his roads be rough. Well, I'm sure he knows that his roads are already rough. Expectations are high of him, and especially given the caliber of policeman a lot of people perceive him to be. People know he's very into his men. By that, he's very into people of the force. A few days ago, coincidentally, Chamberlain, I had cause to respond to a tweet, and he's very much on the streets of Twitter. So,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
So I believe that he's going to be getting the complaints firsthand.
Nice.
We're going to be hoping to see a revitalization of the complaint response unit under his leadership. I was talking about the tweet which I had cause to respond to, and it was a tweet of him celebrating a police officer who died, an inspector. An inspector is somebody who is senior, but not so senior within the police ranking. Inspector Aderibigbe Abimbola, who lost her life. It's unclear. I think he said she was sick or so, and he wrote a very moving tribute. You know, given the sort of work that this woman did within the Nigeria police force. At the last check, this tweet had over 123,000 views. This is a tweet. This February, I don't think he knew he was going to be IGP when he did this tweet. So this is the kind of person who has worked with people, who knows quality people within the force, and sees the work that people put in, especially real policing work that people put in. So under his leadership, people are going to be expecting a lot in terms of the revitalization. I also want to believe that staff welfare will be at the core, because for you to say you want to, you know, put your men on the straight and narrow and you take no nonsense, and the days of corrupt police officers are over, then it also means that at the core of it, you know, people are going to be taken care of. Those who do their job as they ought to will be seen and will be promoted. And that will be like an incentive, because the reason why a lot of people misbehave, Chamberlain, is because they do not see consequences for those who do it, and nothing happens to them. Then they ask themselves, why should I be the one doing the hard work and no reward comes to me? Then everybody becomes lackadaisical.
Speaking about consequences, there's a clear case where lots of people will be waiting to see if there will be consequences or no. Edo State. A few days ago, when the when P2B visited. Those chaps who carried out that shooting, I don't know, I think since he's on the streets of Twitter, he must have seen certain persons boasting on Twitter too, saying Mr. P2B is lucky to have been alive. That he's not coming to Port Harcourt, that their men will carry out those and finish the job, that he was destined to, unprintable things.
I believe...
So, we're hoping.
It's interesting times. Mr. Diso has been appointed IGP. Again, as you said, may his roads be rough. As I said, his roads are already rough because he's been appointed a year to elections. And you also know the pressure that comes to the police force within the season of elections. We wish him a very straight back to withstand all of the pressure and be able to come out victorious and let the Nigerian police force be able to discharge its duties, because he has said Nigerians are his bosses. Nigerian citizens are his bosses. We believe that that is going to be, and I want to believe that he doesn't just mean that by words. He's going to be showing that by action as well.
Even though that is the normal thing, because it is via taxpayers' money that public officers are paid.
Indeed.
And so by so doing, they should be answerable to you out there.
Indeed.
Yes, that is the way it is. So not that he's saying anything new or fantastic, but that is a mindset that they all need to have moving forward if things have got to change. So when public officers walk around with their shoulders high up there with some shoulder pads, you need to remove them and say, no, 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 no. This is the way it should go. What about those images that are circulating on the road, on the streets, about that police officer who was interrogating those
tourists? I think that sometimes they forget that they are our first image makers when people come into this country. I mean, the things that we see, you know, the comments on that particular post, saying the police officer was a customs officer, he was an immigration officer, he was marriage counselor, he was therapist, he was a lot of things, you know, but clearly going beyond the remit of a police officer. So a lot to be done, really, for the rank and file, a lot to be done across board. Again, as I said, high hopes for the IGP. All of that he has said is very much within order, but we're going to be waiting to eat this pudding and see what it truly tastes like.
So, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the course of the program, so just keep it here. But at the moment, there is tension this morning. Well, not with the acting IGP, but in Port Harcourt, the international airport in Port Harcourt. Aviation union workers, we understand, are staging a protest over the planned concession of the airport's car park and toll gate operations. The unions, they've got different arguments. Some of the agreements, they say, reportedly guarantees, what, 14 million naira monthly remittance. They say that is not the way it ought to be. So, but we've got our correspondent, Charles Oporum, who is there to bring us up to speed concerning what is going on, what's their grievance. Good morning, Charles. What's happening?
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? Good morning, Chamberlain. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry. I'm here at the Port Harcourt International Airport, and behind me are members of the unions, ANAP, ATSAN, and Nwati, the three unions that operate here at the airport. And of course, they have been making their grievances known. So, speaking to me is the chairman of ANAP, that is the Association of Nigerian Aviation Professionals, Mr. Emmanuel Aka. So, quickly, what exactly is the problem, and why are the unions in the airports very unhappy today?
Thank you. My name is Comrade Aka Emmanuel, and standing behind me, it's Comrade Felix Owefe, the Nwate chairman, and Comrade Raza Animation, the Atsan chairman. We are here to say no to the concession of the toll gates and the car park of Port Harcourt International Airport. The non-transparent concession of the toll gates of Port Harcourt International Airport and the car park. The reason being that we, the tripartite union, came into agreement and looked into why should they concession the Port Harcourt International toll gates and car parks. We now realize that we, the fan staff, generate 28 million naira monthly, and management had gone into agreement with the concessionaire to be remitting 14 million naira, shorting the revenue down to 50% as against 28 million naira. we have been able to increase our revenue that will start taking effect. The tariff will start taking effect from 1st of March to a whooping sum of percentage of 66% to 400%. And the agreement was signed with the old tariff, which is going to be giving us 14 million naira. And if you look at it, the staff now will be, with the new tariff, will be generating more than 60 million. And we with the old
60 million every month.
60 million with the target. The target, the new tariff, will be generating like 50 million, approximately 60 million. And this agreement is still with the old tariff, which is 14 million naira that the concessionaire with the Bisco Atlantic, the concessionaire, will be remitting to fund. And we say no to that. Secondly, they have trained their staff without our notice. They have employed their staff, meaning that our own staff who have family members, who are breadwinners, may go redundant because they say that they are going to man the beat. Meanwhile, the trained staff that have been trained to collect revenue and know how to manage revenues, that have been doing it for years, are now going to stay back somewhere, which happened before, and is going to cause redundancy. And we are saying no to that. We are not saying no to private partnership. No, we are not saying no to private partnership. What we are saying is transparency. It happened in some, this is Nigeria, it happened in some organizations like the railway, where they said they will generate this and that. Before you know it, the railway collapsed because of personal interest. Here we are saying no to concession because we are saying no to concession of this car park until it is transparent. The papers, the black and white are shown to us. The agreements are shown to us. The welfare of our staff, very important, they are shown to us before we can accept and we can come to a round table to accept and to make a new agreement based on the new tariff. We will run the tariff for some time and see what it is. I will now come to a consensus on a round table and say, okay, since we are generating so and so millions, then you are not now going to give us so and so million. That is, we are not against private-public partnership. Thank you.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, they have increased the cost of
the tariff,
the toll fees,
yes,
but they have reduced the amount of money being generated.
Yes,
and that is what you were against.
Yes.
Okay, Kimberly.
The loss of job.
All right,
and the loss of job.
So can he hear us, Charles? Let's just check. Can he hear us?
Yeah, you can.
I hear you.
All right, so a few things for you, comrade. This said loss of revenue that your union has noticed, have you escalated it to the management?
Yeah, we have been able to.
What was their response?
We have written to the management for a meeting this week, a congress this week, and we came out with an understanding and sent it to the management, and it has been signed and approved by the management. And management has told us, the management categorically told us that they have not received a paper to have the toll gates handed over to the concessionaire, that is Briscoe Atlantic Briscoe. But the agreement, when the agreement was signed, we are not involved. So we can be taken unawares. We don't know, we can be taken unawares. And this will cause lots of jobs if we don't handle it appropriately. Thank you, sir.
You're not against modernization or automation. You are not against genuine public-private partnership. But at the same time, you have equally said that they went ahead and chose certain persons to do the collection, and even though your members have been trained, but if there's a public-private partnership, don't they have a right to pick and choose who they want to work with them?
Please, can I say something? I am the Nuate Chairman, National Union of Air Transport Employee. We met in November with the management of FAN, and we accepted with management of FAN to automate our revenue points. And we all agreed on paper and told management to go ahead. Management never told workers that they are bringing in private hands or a concessionaire to man the toll gates. Now, behind closed doors, management has brought in a concessionaire without even involving the union. We were involved in the automation and on the new tariff, but we're not involved when they were giving it out to a private hand.
Yeah, so
we're also saying, no, there is no transparency.
But what do you expect? If there's automation, of course it will affect certain jobs. That's the way it works. So you want to remain, even though the automation has happened, so that you will be the ones to operate it, and not that they will bring the person to operate it. Is that your point?
That is correct.
So they don't have the right to bring who they want, even though they are the ones bringing the money, they are the investors. They shouldn't bring who should work for them?
Now, see, understand what we are saying. We are not against it. But the procedure to which the management went about it is what we are against.
So what is the procedure? That they should inform your union?
The union would have been in agreement.
What's the agreement that you want? What's the agreement do you want?
Now, they are supposed to have given us a promise. Are we sure our staff working in these points will not lose their job? Because we are afraid. In 2006, Promo Resources took over our toll gate. In 2008, we lost a job. Most of our staff lost their job. In 2008. And so we were afraid that a repetition may also happen. That is why we wanted the management to come to terms with us. Won't our staff lose their job if the concessionaire takes over the manning of the toll gate and car park?
Well, it looks as if the main concern of the union is not really about the revenue that has reduced. It's about the loss of jobs. So because if they give you back the jobs, the loss of revenue, it won't be your major concern. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes.
If you give us the job, the loss of revenue, because the gates are already automated. If you look there, you will see the drop arms. They are already automated. The loss of revenue will no longer be our problem. You understand? But our major concern is our aim, the staff welfare.
Isn't that being selfish? You want
let me correct an impression, please. Let me correct an impression.
What's the impression?
There is fraud. Now, there is a fraud. How can you generate 28 million and you are concessioning the toll gates and car park for 14 million?
Yeah, but you just said that that's not your problem. You just don't want to do your job.
It's also a problem to us. Because the government will, I don't know who is playing these intricacies. The government will be losing. Foreign workers are generating 28. You are giving it out for 14 million. Now you are running government.
So what is the point of your protest now? If they have other people who are doing your jobs, is your protest useful or meaningless?
It's useful because we have three demands here. The three demands is that we will not accept the concessionaire to take over below what we are generating. That is one. Two, if they are to take over, the new tariff must increase the revenue. That is two. Then three, our staff welfare, the safety of our staff being retained on the job is also part of our request. I think that is what we are fighting for.
So what if they say, fine, we will correct the revenue lapse, but if we're going to bring our money and invest, we will decide who we want to work with?
Then the farm management will now have to go on a round table with the union. What happens to our staff? Because they are silent over it.
All right.
Thank you.
Our staff civil servants.
Yes. Civil servants.
Yes. Yes. All right, Chamberlain, that's the situation here at the Port Harcourt International Airport. You know. So, gentlemen, are you downing tools? Are you still working, or are you going on strike? What's the situation?
Okay. For now, we met with our management in Port Harcourt. They gave us their word that come first, the new tariff will kick off, and that they are not aware that any concessionaire is resuming collection on the 1st. And they've asked us to come and be watchdog, to watch if they will be the ones to take over or our staff will continue with the new tariff. So on the 1st of March, we are joining hands with the management of Farm Port Harcourt to see how the new tariff goes. But what we will not take is to see the concessionaire manning the beats. Then the union will do what is in their mind.
Right, we hear you.
As directed.
Yes, Charles, we hear you. So we'll keep tabs on that and see how that eventually plays out. But we'll also look to see if we could hear from FAN themselves and the management to see what they think of this matter as we progress. So thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
thank you very much.
We'll go to break and then we will be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sunrise Today. Well, I know, yes, the FCT elections were conducted some days ago, but INEC themselves did also say that certain lapses, certain persons who were found wanting, certain decisive actions will happen. But do I have a short clip? I mean, there were several persons who did raise concerns. In fact, some political parties did reject some of those results and the conduct of the election themselves. So if we do have it now, we might as well just listen to it briefly before we come to our guest here in the studios.
Government electoral integrity.
We are keen to...
The area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory may have come and gone. However, the exercise is trailed by several reactions, especially from candidates and leaders of opposition parties that participated in the elections. At this news conference in Abuja, some candidates of the People's Democratic Party are dissatisfied with the outcome of the election and vow to challenge the results at the tribunal.
Our record showed that we won convincingly at the majority of the polling units. However, the figures were manipulated during the collation process to favor the APC candidates. I wish to state again that we are not accepting these results. We will pursue this matter to its logical conclusion at the tribunal.
The PDP councillorship candidates are not the only ones who faulted the outcome of Saturday's elections. 17 political parties participated in Saturday's elections, with the All Progressives Congress winning 5 chairmanship positions and leaving 1 seat for the PDP. Spokesperson of the Young Progressives Congress YPP and the FCT chairman of the African Democratic Congress ADC faults the election process, alleging electoral fraud by those declared winners by the electoral umpire.
We discovered that poverty has been weaponized, and those who actually had the means went ahead to buy votes. We heard in a place like Abaji, vote was bought for as much as 30,000 naira.
Let them go and check all the polling units. I want my polling unit, the whole of my Kabosa. At the time of, as at about 1 o'clock, we were leading. FCT election has never been like this.
However...
All right, so we've got Mr. Wilfred Ifoga here with us. He is the Deputy Director of Information and Publicity for INEC. Good morning. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
This kind of complaints are not new to the Commission. They happen time and again. But interestingly, the last bit where he spoke about Kabusa, we understand the Chairman of INEC, Mr. Mutmuta, did say that employees responsible for lapses in that Kuje and Kabusa FCT elections will be thoroughly investigated. Does that, because some interpret that as though some credence to what the gentleman was talking about there, isn't it?
Well, no, I think the issue there was logistic lapses. It's not that probably it did affect, but there was one thing the chairman actually charged the staff of FCT, those that were deployed for the elections, that he want early polls. In other words, all the staff, maximum 100% by 8:30, they should all be in the field. But due to some laxity, found out that Kabusa ward, most of the POs were not at the field as at that time, early enough for polls to start. So that's where it's not like probably that maybe it tainted the outcome of the result for Kabusa.
It's all a value chain. So if there's a lapse somewhere, then of course it's expected that it might give some other persons a window of opportunity to perpetrate certain things that they want. But in terms of what INEC says they will do, I think they said they were going to blacklist certain persons if they're found wanting. Is that right?
I think in terms of blacklisting, we are looking at maybe other providers that do collaborate with us, you know, to provide essential services like transportation and things like that. Where such groups or agencies that probably provided those services we are found wanting, of course they'll be blacklisted. Then why for the staff? Probably due to their involvement. Of course, there's administrative way of dealing with such and punishing them as well.
Well, here we are now, taking a look at, you know, the elections, of what has now happened, what has now transpired. There are those who still believe that the process can be manipulated. They still haven't stated clearly, in what ways. But then we've seen one or two papers flying around. I'm sure you've seen some of them, even though it's not foolproof in the sense that when you look at the numbers written in figures, it looks very suspicious. But then when you look at what was written in words, you see that the correct thing or what was meant to be written was written. But it always raises suspicion, or suspicion when people see those kinds of mistakes being made on the form ECHA. So how does INEC intend to straighten, because all of these things usually have a final effect on the impression of transparency and fairness that people have on the polls. Do you intend to, for instance, take a look at some of these result sheets to say, how come some of these mistakes were made, some of these errors were made? What can we do to reduce the incidence? Yes, mistakes can be made, but it should not be so often, it should not be so frequent, it should not be so brazen in some instances. So what do you think the Commission can do to bolster the confidence of Nigerians who believe that this is an attempt to manipulate the polls?
All right. I think for those who have been following up, the chairman, there was something we actually piloted using the FCT area council elections. And that was the introduction of a system that can help the presiding officers calculate their result to make it error-free. And in this particular election, we used it where if the calculation does not add up, the BIVAS will not upload it. It will not drop. So like that particular one that is flying that everyone sees to, what happened there was the presiding officer, after calculating, instead of entering 121 for the party, which is APC, she erroneously wrote 122. She finds out that the total calculation was not adding up. So they now have to do a recounting and now find out properly sorted, now find out it is 121. Although she has already written 122. Ordinarily, what she was supposed to have done was just strike what she has written, put the real figures on top, then endorse it, and to show, yes, it was a genuine mistake, I have corrected it, and this was transparent. But somehow, in order to clean off the two, she like painted it. They now wrote one behind the first two to show the 121, but she wrote the right thing, 121 in words. Then if you go to the total, she wrote the 211, which is the total vote cast. Then the commission went further. After saying that it was flying, we find out what happened. So there's the next form, which is the collation sheet, which is the EC8B. We find out that it is the 121 she actually wrote. So in other words, that mistake never entered the second page, and it was corrected. So that's one thing I want people to know, because if not for the error-proof mechanism of the BIVAS, it wouldn't have entered the BIVAS, or you wouldn't even see it on the right area because the calculation was incorrect. So that's one attempt the Commission made in order to ensure presiding officers get it right even before it is uploaded on the BIVAS for you to see.
Wasn't there some training for this kind of officers to avoid this kind of lapses?
Of course, there was training for them. They had 3 days training, and of course, even at the registration area centers, which refers to as the RAC, there's a refresher, where even the RATEX, the technical officers deployed by the Commission, also give them a refresher training on how to handle this. But at times, because of the, probably the tension or pressure of the work on election day, you still find them making these mistakes. We are not unaware of this. That's why we tell them, settle down, whatever you have to do, do not be pressured. That's why we also call on the stakeholders to at least give them that time so that they can do these things properly and correctly.
It's interesting that the Commission has raised an internal query as to how this came about, because I believe that that's the only way you can give an explanation to the public. But I mean, I would believe that a lot of Nigerians will also be looking to see fewer and fewer, because in the last elections, these are things that came up in 2023, and that's why a lot of people still say, well, the IREV worked, even though it did not work real time. What I think the disappointment for a lot of Nigerians was that it did not work real time. But post-elections, people were still able to go there and see, and then that's where they were able to show instances, clear instances of fraud, where results were altered. And nowadays, people are very suspicious of anything that is altered before it is uploaded. I'm just a little curious. You say that the BIVAS will not upload if there is a mistake. How does it detect that sort of mistake?
All right, then, like I said, that's an improvement on the BIVAS. Prior to the FCT elections, we did a trial, a mock, for this particular upgrade that was done on the BIVAS in 289 polling units or an FCT to try how it will work. So what happens is that after the calculation of the results at the polling unit, The presiding officer will enter the information on the BIVAS, the figures code. It will be there. Then before, when it's now tabulated on the EC8A, it is now scanned. The photograph is taken. And if it doesn't match with what the BIVAS already has as the total number of accredited voters already recorded and the figures code, it will not allow, it will not drop, it will not pick it up until the proper thing is done and the proper check is done.
Are you saying that the BIVAS can read, apart from just taking a photo and sending, are you saying it can read the photo, it can read,
it will read the figures
on the paper?
Yes, that's the latest in terms of
that's
technology.
A new feature?
Yes, a new feature on the BIVAS now.
So it's some sort of upgrade or
upgrade,
updates.
Yes, exactly.
So that means we didn't need all that budget to
do what now?
Just update the system like a software update.
No, apart from that, remember this BIVAS, when these ones were procured, it's a time we have some, then some need to be replaced, and other gadgets needs to be done. So somehow,
I just wish you brought something to demonstrate so people can actually see.
Okay, see what we are talking about.
Then you'll register more.
Or maybe, probably, maybe another time, maybe as we look towards the 2027 general elections, maybe a demonstration from the technical department. They should be able to
repetition is not, there's nothing wrong with repetition. That's where people learn anyways.
Exactly.
So what you're saying, if you understand you properly, the BIVAS, as it is now, there's a calculation.
Yes, there's a place where you enter the figures on the BIVAS as scored on election day at the polling unit, okay, stored there. Then as soon as you now do a scan of the photo of the result already computed and signed exactly,
EC8A, right?
Yes, it looked at it, it's going to match it with what it already has at its own record. So if it doesn't match, definitely it will not upload.
Oh.
That's very interesting. It means the BIVAS has become intelligent. It's not just a scanning and uploading machine.
So provide technology used there. Just, there are some documents after you do your handwriting, it scans it and gives you the digital format of it.
Indeed.
So if it doesn't match, it won't go.
So wait a minute, how do we prevent people from taking advantage of this? This politician can be smart. They can deliberately enter the wrong thing here or enter the wrong thing here to make sure it doesn't upload.
Okay, let's put it this way. That's why you have party agents at the units as well. So they protect the interest of their party there. The presiding officer is there. There are other observers at that point there as well. So we have supervisors ensuring. And remember, the BIVAS is a digital device that takes record of the accredited voters.
Yeah.
So you cannot do anything beyond the number of accredited voters you have. So these are some checks we already have. So it's not like the commission is not aware, or probably maybe people want to take advantage of it, but then we are working, so we are still engaging.
So it will equally calculate the number of voters that are there accredited first?
It knows the accredited number of voters.
It's already entered.
You don't even need to enter it because it's aware. The BIVAS does that by either taking your fingerprint as a voter when you come in, or it does a facial recognition of you. So that does the... Remember, the BIVAS accreditation is what actually determines those accredited. It's not the one on paper, because the BIVAS device is the one that authenticates whatever is done on paper. It is where the one on paper is over what the BIVAS has, or whatever vote cast is more than what is in the BIVAS, becomes overvoting, and such results will not be accepted.
I'd like to ask, we heard the INEC chairman talk about punishment for those who did not do what they're supposed to do. I imagine that is just for INEC staff. Nothing really can happen to ad hoc staff. Is that correct?
Things can happen to ad hoc staff. If you're found wanting, remember, a crop of our ad hoc personnel, we pull them from the NYC. So if there's anything, of course, they have their agency to deal with them if they are found wanting. Then for our own staff, if they are culpable too, there is also a way to also sanction them.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to that. But what would you say is the greatest lesson that INEC has learned from the conduct of the FCT poll? A lot of people believe that this is the litmus test for what they hope to see come 2027.
Okay, I would like to say this. Yeah, I think most of... I remember during when the chairman was given a charge, he said one thing that will determine how credible our process is ensuring that we start early enough. That helps to calm nerves, to show, yeah, these people, they are ready and things like that. Yes, still along the line, we still find some people, probably they don't have what it takes for them to also be part of it, okay? And also, it's still with I think the terrain too, just like we had in Kuje, where their own result came last because of their environment. So I think the commission will work on that, because definitely it represents what will happen on a general scale. So look at those other areas where probably we might have these logistical challenges, not because they were not provided, but just because of where the communities are situated or located. Then also, the security architecture as well. I think the Commission will look at it too, and also be able to speak with the Interagency Consultative on Election Security on how to curb some of the things that transpired within the last FCT election in terms of security coverage.
I think it's going to be very interesting. This is something that we'll equally have a look at more as the next elections draw closer, so that people can understand what is expected of them, so that even voters too can also help watch, to be sure, because primarily from EC8 is still a major document.
Exactly.
So what you enter there has to corroborate with what corresponds to what you are scanning and uploading into
the BIVAS.
So that's key. So if they allow anybody enter any wrong figure in the form EC8A, that is the beginning of their trouble.
Exactly.
As it were. But we have to thank you for coming on, Mr. Wilfred Ifoga, Deputy Director of Information and Publicity for INEC. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, back in a moment, but yes, indeed, quite a few things. Remember, we spoke about the acting IGP, but then there will be more in just a moment. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Lala Konde joins us now. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
The acting IGP, has he assumed office?
Yes. He has. He's been decorated. So the instruments of office have been handed over to him.
Hence that narrative. Nigerians are the bosses.
Your smile is very broad. Is it telling?
So tell us what is telling then.
I mean, well, the man seems to have some very good reputation in terms of being an outstanding police officer who seems to also, take serious the idea of internal integrity in the police, even if you listen to some of his colleagues. So when his name came up, there was quite a bit of excitement even within the Nigerian police itself. And when he then spoke at the villa, talking about the fact that he's going to have zero tolerance for corruption in the police. And
well, were the policemen happy about that? That's what they enjoy. How come they were happy all of a sudden?
Well, it speaks to hope that in the recent of it, there are people in our country, and we've said this all over the time, there are people in our country who know what to do, and who are willing and able to get it done. The problem is that, it's going to take more than just one person. The man has spoken very well. He said that it's going to be zero tolerance for corruption. He says that Nigerians are the boss, which is common sense, but hasn't happened a lot. I'm only just afraid that by himself alone, it might be overwhelming. It might be very, very overwhelming. But at least, this is some guy who seems to have his head in the right places as to how to approach the job.
All those narratives he's saying, what many people will look to see immediately would be, there's a litany of examples. I mean, I know the Southeast has complained of several checkpoints. Yeah, the crime rates along those areas is still huge. So because they say, anywhere people see checkpoints, they want something again. So maybe they will do something about all of those. And then, in those states, which we mentioned in the opening here, where those thugs attacked. If he really means what he's saying, let's start with those people. Let's see, who are those that carried out that attack? If they were political thugs, will he go after them?
Well, certainly he should.
He's expected to.
He should. But I'm sure, Chamberlain, that you agree with me that we have far more serious security problems in the country than bother ourselves about some of the controversies of politicians. I mean, I was listening to Afegboa yesterday saying that, it was actually an ADC problem between them, among themselves. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't deal with that, but I'm saying that we have far more serious security problems in Nigeria. Far more security problems.
If they had killed any of those candidates, that would have, who knows what would have happened.
Absolutely.
So that is equally important.
No, of course.
So because the thing that happens is, those politicians have the way they come up with their thugs. And in many cases, they're very bold because they are sponsored by politicians.
Yeah.
And so if that were to be out of the way, and our elections count, many of these far more problems that we have will not even happen in the first place.
Well, I mean, you certainly have a point there. I was just saying that that is something that is common to all political parties. They have their talks, they do their thing, and we are not saying that they shouldn't deal with it.
Do you think he can make an impact in that regard?
In dealing with political violence?
Yeah.
Well, I think it can make an impact, even easier, in those areas than in the real problems. And that's why I was saying that, look, we want to solve the real problems, the problems of banditry, the problems of kidnapping. Look at what is happening in Owo. Look at what is happening in Kwara. Those are far more serious problems. And you're right that political violence is also a big deal. But I think that one can be sorted out. Just make sure that you put all the politicians on the straight and narrow path.
Yeah, and I think that is very important because for a number of people, they think that would immediately send a signal. That is a quick win. If you consider it a low-hanging fruit, then let us by all means pluck the fruit.
Absolutely.
Because the level of impunity, anyhowness, a lack of order is so overwhelming in this country that sometimes you wonder who's in charge.
Yeah.
You're going on the streets, just driving in Abuja, for instance. Abuja, the federal capital territory. The amount of people you see violating the traffic with no consequences.
Do you see those people who run against the traffic?
Run against, yes.
It has become a pandemic.
It is a pandemic, and it's happening within the federal capital territory.
Not that the roads are bad.
There's nothing wrong with the road.
Why are they going?
Even on the high road, you see people driving so confidently against traffic.
Against traffic. So you now start to wonder, where is law and order in even the seats of power?
Yeah.
So some people say, if you start from there, then they begin to sense that, okay, there's a new sheriff in town, and maybe that would translate into the more difficult areas. But if those ones are not blocked, if those ones are not checked, then...
Yeah, you're right.
How do we begin to feel anything?
Yeah, it's that. Like I said, that's a lower hanging fruit, and I imagine that anybody who wants to do that can get that one done, straightened out very, very easily. And but so we are setting an agenda for the man. That hey, look, these are low hanging fruits. I just also want us to talk about some of the fundamental changes that has to happen, which he has put his finger on. Welfare for the police. I mean, when you see the average policeman, the way they are treated, you actually feel sorry for them.
What can he do about that?
So the welfare has to be improved, significantly.
That comes from the presidency, isn't it? Well, to approve and increase.
So somebody has to push for that. Even in terms of recruiting more policemen. You know the argument about trying to recruit 10,000 and 20,000. We don't even know how far that has gone. What are the obstacles in those very basic things, which are quite fundamental. So if you want the policeman to perform better, which they can, then we need to pay attention to their welfare. And that way we can then say, look, zero tolerance for corruption, like you said.
I'm looking to see, perhaps, a police force that also engages more with the public.
Which is what the man does.
It's been such a long time we saw an IG grant a proper interview.
Speak to the people.
Speak to the people. I do not know if it's something you think that he would take on. I'll be very honest with you. Since the time of Arase, I have not seen any IG grant an extended interview with the public or with media houses, taking on issues that really matter, proffering solutions. It might not be something for the short term to be solved within their tenure, but what the thinking is with regards to the current challenges that we currently face. Do you think that he'll be willing to take on such a challenge?
Well, it will certainly help to build the trust, which has dwindled, if at all it exists, between the people and the police. If you have a police IG who is saying that, look, the people are the boss, then he should be willing to be more outgoing have engagements with the people, do interviews, even attend town halls, build that confidence that needs to be in place between the people and the police. The people must have confidence in their police. You know, so yes, you know, I will expect him to understand that those things that he said is going to come at a cost. You know, if he says that the people are the boss, then we want to see him actually taking steps and actions that show that the people are the boss indeed. And there are a number of things that I hope and we expect that he's going to be doing. So talking to the people, granting interviews, you know, at least even articulating a vision, you know, of a new Nigerian police is a good way to start.
Maybe we'll mandate all the CPs, go and talk to the people. Go and talk wherever you are, speak. DPOs, make sure your boys are not on the road. You know, whether it's motorized, checkpoints or anything, doing whatsoever. All of those things. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? I guess we'll wait and see how all of those play out. But one other thing that is playing out now, U.S. Congress on Nigeria. So the doubling down and ensuring that Riley Moore, I think he submitted this report to President Trump, and then there's going to be a lot more focus. So in terms of where we are at the moment with this matter, you think it's hit home well enough that we know that, look, it's about time this kind of things take deeper roots?
Yeah, I mean, what I think that is happening is, and it's something that we have to look at in a very cautious and very careful way. I think it was Markwe in our last conversation that was talking about what the Americans want, you know, whether they have other interests. And I said that, yeah, we shouldn't dismiss that, you know. But if you look at the report, if you read the report, then it is becoming very clear what is really happening, why the Americans are pushing the way they are pushing. Look, that report is very devastating. The report has said now on the record from a U.S. government agency that the Chinese are involved with illegal mining. I mean, these are the things that people say in hushed tones.
We knew that.
You know. Yeah, but it's on
we no longer hush it. It has been said in public. The senators have said it.
Well, you know.
The House of Reps members have said it.
And the Chinese have pushed back, you know, just for balance. But my point is that you now have...
What are they pushing back?
Well, they're pushing back.
Don't we see that men do on the road?
Just for, you know, balance. But my point is that now you have the U.S. government taking the trumpets and saying that, hey, the Chinese are involved in illegal mining in Nigeria, and that they are financing ethnic militia to perpetuate violence. Is in the report. Yeah. You know, so what the Americans are doing, yes, of course, we must question, okay, so we know that you have interest in this area, and we can work out a mutual interest, but they have forced us to have to confront the things that we have pretended, even if we've had it. We've never confronted it. We've never confronted it. We just, you know, everybody just kicked the can down the road. So I think that there is an opportunity here for us to really have some very frank conversation about what is happening in Nigeria, about why this violence is persisting.
About that particular point, so the mining marshals is not a response of sorts to this kind of narrative?
It is if they get off the ground, you know, and if they do it properly, you know, if they are well kitted.
They're still not off the ground. This is something that was marketed since last.
But because you know, it's when they start to solve the problem that we know that they are. Look, I am for any ideas of how to deal with it. Look, I mean, look at what happened. You saw the commissioner for police in those days saying that when they came in from the forest and then attacked the church, the Celestial Church in a war, you know, and then they disappear like that. You know, so that tells you that, you know, so we are at the marshals when none of that was going on.
What about the police?
You know,
I mean, there just seems to be some. When we hear this kind of things, we just wonder, do these guys? I mean, yeah, it can be frustrating when you hear these things because these are basic policing duties that should have been carried out.
Yeah,
they are not being done.
The problem is that, you know, and I saw Mr. President, I think yesterday, while hosting the senators to iftar, you know, said that he's appealing to the senators to tinker with the Nigerian Constitution to have state police. We need
Is it by appeal?
we need exactly. We need Mr. President to be
Send
much
an
more.
executive bill.
Look, when the president wanted to do the tax reform bills, the man was bullish about it. The NEC came out and said, Mr. President, slow down. I said, no, I'm not slowing down. That is the kind of attitude that we need from the president on the state police. This matter has gone past appealing to senators that you guys go and tinker it. It just seems that the president is just playing games, trying to buy time. You know, but this problem is very there. And the way the Americans are going, they are not going to let up. They're not going to let up.
But, you know, it's very interesting because one of the things I'm just thinking as a Nigerian now, I'm thinking to myself that, look, I'm sure the Nigerian authorities must have thought, if this has been funded, it's unclear if China as a government is funding
this. They called out the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes, they did. But, I mean, it's one thing for them to allege. It's another thing for it to really be true. This is allegations at best, unless, of course, they have evidence. It could be some people, you know, very wealthy Chinese. And we know a lot of Chinese people have money. They're, you know, fueling some conflict to make sure that could also be a possible scenario. So I'm just a little curious because, I mean, we also know that the United States government, they also want some of these minerals.
Yes,
they are
of course.
looking to. So it could be that you want to push some people so that you too can get a good share.
But they'll steal it now,
are they stealing it as we speak?
That's the allegation.
That's the allegation.
Yes, as arrested some of them.
We say that we are not aware. So
we are aware, of course.
I've been thinking to myself, you know, is it that Nigeria doesn't really have is it that we've thought that, look, fighting these people mean fighting China? This is a world power we're talking about.
I think,
so as a result of that, we've just said, you know, leave it be.
No, I think what's happened, you know, Markwe and Chamberlain, is that our leaders have just not taken this as a very existential problem.
Yeah.
They have just not done that. Look, I mean, so when we were in the villa, there was a time that the president actually issued a no-fly zone on Zamfara, if you remember. You know, so these things were going on, you know, and then, of course, the governor of Zamfara State, who is now the Minister of State for Defense, came out and said, no, well, you can't do that. These folks are still in play.
So you believe it's just the lack of political will?
I think the lack of political will is a big deal. And I think it's also the lack of courage. People feel that, look, let me just do my own presidency and just go. This problem, you know.
It's bigger than me.
So let them bring on the pressure then. Maybe we'll make us do the right thing. So thank you for coming on. Well, that wraps it up as well today on the program. Thank you all for watching. We will see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain. So goodbye.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Have a great day.